Okay, we're going to first set up a boundary that kind of looks like the quilt that we have. The quickest way that I've figured out how to do this is to set up a draw line and turn my grid on, my snap to grid on, which is down here on the right. So we're going to left mouse click on one point, the next point, still left mouse clicking, back up to here, and then we're going to hit the right mouse click once to stop it, and then twice to turn it off. Okay, so now we're going to turn off, that snap to grid. We're going to grab this object that we just created, or this pattern that we just created. I'm going to change the height to 72 because that's how big our quilt is. Move it down just so it's on a grid line, even though that grid line is going to change in a minute. Okay, and then while we have it selected, or if you're unselected, just select it again with the left mouse click, and then you're going to right mouse click, and we're going to go down to convert pattern to boundary. This is a representation of our quilt. This is the design that we chose, okay? And this design has some air up here. If we were on our quilt, we would probably start it up here, our boundary, just so that we could get it so that it didn't have so much fill in there, and we would quilt right off on the top and on the sides, but I don't really want to do that. So I'm going to create 3 patterns, one for the top, several for the middle, or one for the middle that repeats, and then a bottom. Okay, so if I were on the quilt itself, this is being the quilt, and I know that there's about 2 to 3 inches of space up here, I'd probably change my grid first. Change my grid to, we'll just do 1 inch. Okay, so we're going to go up 2, we're going to go up 3, and we'll go over 1. Okay, so that essentially put that there. Okay, if we want to start again, we can certainly do that. So we're going to go over here to the width, and our width is 61, but again, we want to go over the edge a little bit. So we're going to say on our width, we're going to say it's 1 inch on that side, 61. So we're going to set it at 63, and that will automatically set up the width here and the repeats. So there's 3 repeats. It does come up to the edge, but I like that end point to be in my binding edge, or at least within that 1/4 inch. So I am going to change this to 64, and that would bring that end point over into to the right side, and our start is here, and this looks pretty darn good to me. Okay. If I wanted to move this down again, I would say again. I'd get rid of this. These here. And I would come up to here. Hit again. Here. So that looks a little better. It's a little further down. It's got about 1/2 inch. And that looks pretty darn good on the sides. My ends look good. Okay. So my height is 72. And again, we went over on the top 2. We'll probably want to go down on the bottom 2. So that's 4 inches. So we're going to set this at 76. I also want my rows closer together. So I'm going to say -2. All right, so that looks pretty darn good to me. All right, I want to take note. Here it is, 14.33 is the height of each one of these rows. Now the top one goes over, and the bottom one goes over. So those heights will be a little bit different, okay? So take some notes on here, and a lot of times I'll just take a snapshot of this using whatever tool you have on your PC to take pictures of your snippet or whatever other tool you have, or piece of paper, and write down the width of the pattern and the height of the pattern. All right, so we're going to say okay. We're going to select this top one. We're going to right click, go down to fill inside. Because we have that boundary that we did first thing, we now have the boundary of the quilt. When we say fill inside, it's auto magic. Okay, this gets all filled in. All right, so this is the new pattern. We can say save pattern. And I usually say this is the top, and then the width of it in the name. I put a tag of a row because I built that row, and I'm using Smart Sync, so I use Elevate in here, save and close. Okay, now I can move this around if I want to, so you can see what is going on as far as what's going to happen. I'm going to stitch straight across. Control Z puts it right back in there. We're going to go from our left mouse click is down. We're going to select this second row and only that second row. We're going to say right click again. We're going to say fill inside. I'm going to select this row again. Right click, save pattern. And I usually call this the middle. 61. Row, elevate, save and close. Okay, now we can select this second row. Please note the height is 14.33, which was also the height of each one of the blocks or each one of the sections that were in there when we had the repeat patterns. If we look at this first row, it is not 14.33, it's 12.66 because we trimmed the top of this particular design, which we also have to do on this bottom. So we're going to go right to left, holding on to the left mouse button, right click, fill inside, select it, right click, save pattern, bottom, 61, row, elevate, go to the collection, save and close. Okay, so we have 3 patterns that we just created for this quilt that need to be sent over to the Elevate via the pattern cloud. Okay, we want to take notes on the size of the bottom, the size of the middle, the size of the top. Then we're going to come over here to the patterns, and Heather Edge to Edge is in all of these as far as a name is concerned and as far as a tag is concerned. So if you hold down the control, you can select multiples, right click, sync back up to cloud. Okay? So all 3 of these patterns are up there. Once we get over to the Elevate, what we will have to do, or what we can do, is you can use the single row feature, set up your boundary, just as you normally would. And I would set it up a little bit bigger than this one, so I'd set it up probably around 14 and a half, because that would reach the 14.33, no problem. And that also fits within my throat space. And then what we're going to do is we're going to pull this first design in. which is the top, 61 heather edge to edge. We're going to change the height of that on the elevate to 12.66. So even though we have set it here, that size does not necessarily stay in place once it gets to the elevate, but we do have the tools on the elevate to change that. So we're going to stitch that out, and then we're going to hit stitch again, and then there's the little heart for pick a new pattern. We're going to pick this next pattern. We're going to put that in there. We're going to roll our quilt, obviously, and then set up the locate so that these fall right in line with the top, just like you would do an edge to edge. So you would put it on the edge of here and then spot your design. So you would do this middle one, same thing. You would just do when you roll, when you're doing 1, 2, 3, 4 of these, you're just going to use relocate. You do not have to go in and do stitch again or edit. Once you get to this last one, or this last row, I should say, you're going to have to go into stitch again and edit. Pick this last row, place it in there, make sure that that height is 12.02, or if you want it slightly longer because of shrinkage or stuff, something like that, obviously you can fit that into your quilt. Hope this was helpful. Thank you.